Hello, this is John. Welcome to the NCGA FMC Ag Weather Outlook, September 12th, 2015. I think most of us woke up this morning with some pleasantly cool temperatures, almost early fall-like. Reminds us that harvest time is right around the corner for many areas, so we need to keep our focus on that as far as my weather outlooks here. But I issued that trend alert a couple weeks ago for this cooler pattern of weather, and I'll be talking real soon about how long that'll last. But let's first take a look at rainfall. And I want to start off by the number of rain days in the last 30 days. And this gives us some idea of what areas have been susceptible to wet soils and which ones are trending dry. And you can see from a wet perspective, this is the area in green. And southern Minnesota, parts of Iowa, parts of Wisconsin. But everywhere else, with some few exceptions, have been fairly quiet, especially the eastern Corn Belt. So we shifted a while back now from that very, very wet pattern. And remember for many weeks I was talking about how models were showing that pattern that was in the east was going to shift into the middle part of the nation. Well, it did work out late in the summer, and you can see now these areas of green, meaning a lot of rain days, has now shifted into the middle part of the nation. And that's nothing new. That's been like that for a while. Consequently, the eastern Corn Belt has gone the other way, and it's been trending fairly dry. Now, if we look at the last 7 days, we can see that once again has been the case with relatively quiet weather over Illinois and Ohio, but right in the middle part of the nation, Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, Missouri, some pockets of heavier rain. Yellow is 2 inches or more, and even some pockets of very heavy rain. Red is estimate of 5 inches or more. Then we get further west in the western Corn Belt, North and South Dakota, and most of Nebraska. Western parts of Minnesota, fairly quiet in those regions. So we look at the percent of normal rainfall for the last 7 days. It's sort of a mishmash here. It's hard to describe, but I think there's more red and yellow over the western Corn Belt saying dry. Then we have this swath right here in the middle, and that is indicating the areas that have been wetter, sort of in this area right here. And then if we go further east again, dry. So that's sort of been the story over the last 7 days. Now, temperatures over the last 7 days, well, the average is actually above normal in red, but as you know, we've ended up the end of the week with that cooler air pushing in, generally Wednesday on through the end of the week. So you can see the far western Corn Belt here in this region right here, actually sort of west of our region, you can see cooler temperatures, but everywhere else it's averaged out above normal temperatures. That's the area in red for this week. So when we look at what areas have the wettest soils, it's almost like an anomaly here, a very small localized area in central Iowa. That's the area in dark green and blue. That's the area that has been unusually wet, and soils are still quite wet. Everywhere else, generally speaking, near normal. And a couple pockets of yellow saying it's trending dry, a couple pockets of light green saying it's trending wet, but most of the areas unshaded or in white. And that's saying at this point in time, we're considering getting out to start harvest. A problem in central part of Iowa might be more localized, and that might improve fairly quick if we don't get additional rain. But everywhere else in a fairly decent condition, either not too wet or not too dry. Look at the jet stream pattern this week, and I talked about the cooler weather, and we have this dip in the jet stream, but look at the average flow. That dip in the jet stream has shifted more into the eastern part of our region, and that's indicating that this is somewhat progressive. And what that means is that temperatures will gradually modify as we go through the week. So when we look at the anomalies of temperature this week, we see they're centered over the eastern Corn Belt. That means that lingering cool air will continue in that region, but it looks like overall we're going to start out the week well below normal and modify readings as we progress through the week. So by the end of the week, this is Thursday, high temperatures, you can see generally speaking 60s over the far upper Midwest, 70s over a majority of the Corn Belt, and then 80s brushing up to the southern sections. Now, when we look at September 17th through 22nd, I don't see signs right now of a dip in the jet stream. If anything, it's in near normal or maybe slightly above normal, as indicated by this brown position, and this is the 17th through the 22nd. And then later in the month, the 22nd through the 27th, I see that the jet stream, again, mainly in a position fairly close to normal, but probably warmer than normal over the western Corn Belt. Now, let's look at these with some caution, but this would indicate to me that the prospects of a very early season frost or freeze are below normal at this time, especially areas that might be susceptible. The upper Midwest looks to me like above normal jet stream is going to mean temperatures above normal or at least close to normal. So that's what it looks like right now. Now, as far as precipitation go, here we look at the next 7 days. Overall, most regions, Eastern Corn Belt, Indiana, Ohio, most of the Dakotas, Nebraska, below normal precipitation, fairly quiet week, and a couple pockets of heavy rain. This is this pattern we've seen now for a while, right in the middle part of the nation, right in this axis right here, some pockets of above normal precipitation. Now, the good news is that area in Iowa, central Iowa here, that has been very wet, not quite as much rainfall. So, I mean, it'd be nice if there was really none, but it looks like fairly quiet. This is only about a quarter inch. This is not much. And anywhere actually in green is not all that much, and it's going to average for the week below normal. So really, I think what we're looking at this week is a quiet week precipitation-wise, but just a couple pockets of heavy rain here and there. Consequently, when I look at soil moisture, almost the entire region drying. And look at Iowa, because of the light rain, drying soils, and this is good. That's the area we want to see dry. Everywhere else, it's not going to change that pattern of soil moisture all that much one way or the other. I think it's going to keep it in a normal pattern. So heading into this time of harvest, it looks like soil moisture is going to be fairly decent, generally in a normal range right through the end of the month. So let's look at precipitation anomalies. Again, yellow is indicating below normal precipitation. Green is above normal. So here's this week, like I said, fairly quiet. Week 2, let's just sort of keep an eye on that central part of the nation. Again, week 2. Everywhere else, I don't see much action at all, but let's keep an eye on Iowa, parts of Kansas, but that's a ways out there. And then week 3 and 4, I said this the last couple times, these climate models will probably be factoring in climatology into here, and I think that's overdoing the precipitation in the upper Midwest. So I think at the best, that looks like that's probably more normal precipitation in that region in week 3 and week 4. Now, one last thing here before I summarize here, I wanted to mention, if you haven't taken a look at the agweatheradvisor.com/radar, I put a really nice interactive radar. It can do a lot of things. I know it's a quiet week, but bookmark that so you can look at it not just during the growing season, but during winter, and especially during times of adverse weather. Lots of really useful information: temperature, wind, rainfall rate, storm reports, anticipated storm movement. So you can get that at that link right there, and tell others about it. I think that's real important here, that we continue to grow the Ag Weather Advisor program. So just pass this along to your friends and neighbors, that if you find my content useful, let them know, have them sign up. So again, real quick here, we're getting into a quiet time of the year, so I'm trying to keep my briefings fairly quick, but we're going to start off cool, then moderate, and I think overall, as we're going into September, a fairly quiet pattern, and that's what we'd expect. That's more climatology in most areas, sort of a quiet late summer precipitation pattern. Likewise with temperatures, I don't see any really strong patterns as we get into the latter part of September with fairly near normal temperature readings as well. Have a great week, everybody, and I will be talking with you again really soon.